We're ready to start our architectural design review committee. Just for everyone that's here, I know we got some students, I don't have any other on public, but this is a public meeting. It is a committee meeting that is advisory to our town plan and zoning commission. So there is no public comment as part of this meeting. So you'll hear everyone talk and put their app and discuss the application. The documents will be up on the screen. And we'll work as a committee meeting that's advisory to TPC. All right. There we go.
Welcome, guys. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Robert Reed. I'm a lawyer with Scully Mason Reed, 79 Main Street, Greenville, representing the applicant, which is National Land Holdings. That's an affiliate of Crown Equities, which is a national housing developer based in Minnesota. And the founders of Crown are these two gentlemen here, Jack Grant on the other side of Marcus, south. They're the founders and the principal in Crown. They're willing today to tell you a little bit about their company, about their vision for this site, and to share the architectural plans developed and to get your feedback on that. The owners of the property are two of the parcels owned by Peter Fishman, who's sitting in the front row there. Next to him is Stan Majewski, who owns the other parcel. Tom Daly is here, Tom's a civil engineer with SLR Consulting. And he'll go over the details of the application that we made to the TPZ for approval of a master for this development. The applicant is under contract to purchase 3 parcels of land from Mr. Fishman and Mr. Majewski. And they're on Farmington Avenue, just to the south of the intersection of Bridgewater Road. Sort of orient yourselves. Shannon's probably looking for the map, but the landmarks in the area would be the LDS temple to the east. A little bit to the north and east would be the Riverbend Assisted Living Center. The Goddard School down the Bridgewater Road. So the 3 parcels in question are going to be assembled total about 80 acres. And they run from Farmington Avenue all the way back to the river, as you can see on the rendering that Shannon's got up there now. And out of those 80 acres, there's a 14-acre pond, which is shown on. And that's really that's part of the Plant 17 site, which was a sand and gravel operation at one time, which is not the one. So several years ago, under one of Shannon's predecessors, the Town and Zoning Commission adopted something called the Midpoint Development District as part of the zoning regulations. And that's a very limited area along Farmington Avenue. It includes these 3 parcels. And it also includes another parcel to the west that I think you folks have looked at in the past, which is known as the JRF parcel or the McAllen property. And that was approved for a mixed-use development past. Unfortunately, for reasons beyond the waste control, that one has not been built yet. So we are here tonight on a referral from the TPZ under the Midpoint Development Regulation. The regulation says that you are to give advice on the appropriateness and the architectural continuity of our master plan for factors. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the plan. I'm going to let Tom really go into that in more detail, but it's for a total of 237 housing units. 79 of those would be single family homes closer to the river area. It's up on the screen, and then there will be 158 multifamily townhomes closer to Farmington Avenue, up near the avenue, on one parcel and then behind the riverbed. And the proposal includes amenities such as a clubhouse, walking trails. We've provided for open space, whether the town wants that or by conservation consent. We're open for both to protect the open spaces along the river. I think it's also important to note that we're proposing a roadway access or a connection from the development behind the LDS temple over to Melrose Drive. So the loop, as we call it, will be closed. So you'll now have access from the development either at the intersection of Bridgewater and Farmington Avenue or through the development behind the temple and out on Melrose Drive. So there'll be two ways in and out of the process. So as I said, Tom Daly's going to go over some of the details of the master plan, and then Jack Brandt and Tom LaSalle tell you about their company and the architectural plans developed for the site.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, for the record, Tom Daly with SLR Consulting. Interesting thing, and with our former, we have concept for this plan, for this land going back to the 80s when it was supposed to be a big office park. So I found those one day, long before I started the company, but they're out there. So Shannon, next slide. So obviously this commission knows the neighborhood very well. But as Bob indicated, the town developed in the POCD a midpoint district. And they identify this, so midpoint of the town. And on this parcel, this is really the general context, and the green area is shown as that's the area of the application. So to the south, as Bob indicated, is the Farmington River, and across the river is Tungus Mead. To our east is the temple and also Melrose Drive. And then to the north is residential. There's some more higher residential in that area where Shannon's pointing. I believe the area to the right is age restricted, 55 and older. And then directly to the north of that is winding trails. To our west is we have the Goddard School, the Greenbrier Office Park. We have Bridgewater Road. And then just slightly off the left, we have the midpoint, the other midpoint project that was referenced to by Bob, and I believe was just in front of this commission, I think just recently for a small change on that. And then, so on this plan also, you'll see in the light blue on the left is the Farmington Heritage Trail, which is a big part of the midpoint regulations and how. And if you look at the midpoint regulations, they talk about connectivity to the trail, a lot about pedestrian and vehicular connectivity, and they also talk very strongly about protecting the Farmington River. Next slide. So from an existing condition standpoint, this is a general context. So a little more zoom in. So at the top of the page, we have Route 4, and then we have I guess it's called Riverbend now at Farmington. That was an assisted living facility we did a few years back now. Directly to the right of the assisted living is that's wetlands, and essentially going to remain as open spaces, and that's part of the Riverbend parcel. Directly to the right of that is the temple, and you will see on the south end of the temple, as part of their application, they had to build a new cul-de-sac in there called Central Way. And I think we've been, talking about with the town on this parcel for over 10 years, that interconnection from Bridgewater and Melrose through this new Central Way has always been a desire by the town. So that really formulated a lot of what we looked at. But ultimately, the assisted living facility, the green patch of woods between that and Greenbrier and the woods down below it, that's always kind of been referenced in my office as the Greenbrier Office Park or the Greenbrier parcel. At the green patch next to the assisted living, we did have an approval, working with Peter Fishman, we did have an approval for a small senior living building there, but that did not go forward. A couple other things. So just to the left of that, Shannon, if you go down, that is the Connecticut Water wellhead right there. And you'll see as part of this plan is we've given that a very strong buffer and stay away from there. In the light green area, that's I kind of refer to that as the peninsula. So if you ever had a chance, go look at the old historic photos of how different this area is. And with the mining of gravel through many, many decades through there. But that area essentially has been changed dramatically. The portion of the Farmington River in this area is extremely deep because it's all been wanted.
You guys are fine, come on in.
You get school credit, John.
Get your school. It's the end of the year, guys. Come on, let's go.
Wait until the last minute. And as you say, it's clearly a lot of gravel operation down here. The pond that Bob indicated is over on the right. That's actually part of this parcel. That's excavated land for gravel pit. The river was excavated, but that entire peninsula where you're seeing light green and even some of the more darker green area, that was all part of the old operations. Those photographs up above are not in the far past. That's actually fairly recent. Over the last thing, it seems like activities have kind of closed. Have shut down a little bit over time. But obviously, so Farmington River was a very important thing. This connection of Central Way was a very important element as we started to lay out the plan. And just some of these configurations or these items that are on the landscape, when we started to play with this, was it really started to create 3 separate neighborhoods. And so that's kind of how we approached it with more of a neighborhood approach. So next slide. So, and we'll get into some of these neighborhoods, but ultimately you're going to see areas A, B, and C. And those are somewhat, they're different architectural styles in different neighborhoods. And so up in the area of A, that neighborhood is framed by, we have 2 access points that are going into the river bend. We have a main one-way in that is going at the top adjacent to Farmington Ave. And then in the back is their kind of back of house 2-way entrance. We also have a large drainage pipe that's going on between that parcel and Riverbend that comes from the condos across the street and goes to the Farmington River. Very large diameter, so that's something we couldn't really go near. So while you don't see it on the plan, that is respected in the overall layout. The product over in the A area, those are townhomes. It's a fairly narrow area. We did try to create a strong buffer to Bridgewater Road there. And those are, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but those are intended to be a for sale product. Then you get into the B area. That's an area that those are smaller scale townhomes. Those are expected to be a rental product. And they were laid out in a way that try to create a lot of articulation. And you'll see throughout this project that we tried to come up with a product that you're not seeing large seas of parking lots. They're really, most of these units, they'll all have their own garage and they'll have a parking space in front of them. And on the south side, the C neighborhood, those are single family detached, anticipated to be a for sale product there. Gina, why don't we go to the next? So I think we do it.
So B, you said is rental?
B would be rental.
Could be
Either way.
where we filed applications, we let that all.
Okay.
We've had some of builder partners discuss entirely the owner occupied product rate. Who
So I'll stop talking about ownership. How about that? I'll just stick with the same thing. One thing, and the POCD really struck strongly about here is connectivity. So obviously we have Farmington Ave, which is an artillery road. This connection, so as we come down, so we have Bridgewater, we're terminating Bridgewater just kind of ends now. There's no cul-de-sac. We're terminating that into a roundabout with a landscaped island. And then we are bringing a new roadway system through basically the middle of the project and tying into what was built with the Temple Central Way. Also flanking that entire road was, if you see out in front of Farmington Riverbend, that was, I think, one of the first projects that I worked with the town where they, instead of going with a traditional sidewalk along the road, they were more with a multi-use path. That's more, I think it's 10 feet wide by 2 minutes. So the concept was we would bring that multi-use path all the way down along the road and tying into Central Way. In addition to that, as part of the midpoint, the other midpoint, also, I believe it's called the launch now, at the far left, they are making a connection to the Heritage Trail and they're bringing it all the way to their property line. We're gonna pick that up and we're gonna bring that in, bring it all the way around the peninsula and connect in. So now you can come from the trail all the way through the other midpoint project, down along the frontage, along the river, get on to Central Way. Essentially, you can get yourself over to winding trails. If you didn't want to take the circuitous route, you can get right on, there'll be a multi-use trail along adjacent to the public road. So this road connection in the middle, Central Way to Bridgewater, so you also, essentially you're connecting Melrose to Bridgewater, you have traffic lights at both. That will be a public road. All the other roads and systems in there within the development are going to be private. As I indicated, we've maintained a strong buffer to the wellhead. We're staying several hundred feet away from there to just maintain that. The other thing as part of the P O C D is they talk about a strong buffer to the Farmington River. So this project, this design includes a 100-foot minimum buffer to a vegetated buffer to the Farmington River along there. All the light blue areas, those are internal sidewalks. Yeah.
Tom, excuse me. Did you say your bike path is for public use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the one along the river would be for public use. I don't, Shannon, I have to, on the other midpoint, is that a public trail?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the, on, once the JRF property, with the lowering of the trail and the dropping of that connection in, that is all public legal functioning with the same parameters that are rails to trails, so it's seasonally available. It won't be cleared in the winter or anything, just like regular. And I believe there's maintenance agreements, I believe ultimately it reverts.
So we would mimic that approach, and that's that kind of lime green trail system. And this was a later evolution of this plan, but the lime green thing would, you'd come off, they're gonna make their connection all the way through there, you drop down through here and then follow that lime green. So that'll be,
So the lime green is now where the trail is, so there'll be the river and then the 100-foot buffer,
Yeah.
and then the trail,
and
and then the
The house.
100-foot buffer, and then houses.
correct.
So that's different because before the trail came straight through along the road,
Yeah.
right?
We do have a trails, we are having a multi-use path along the roadway system
well.
too. So if you want to short circuit it,
Right.
you would have that also. And that kind of frames also what we did in front of the assisted living. So yes, and this trail along that was a kind of a late development. You're right.
Yeah.
When we came to you first, we didn't have that. If you were in part of the informal presentation of plans, then we did not have that.
One of the things, that was one of the things that we actually did this because
Yeah.
everyone loves
Yeah.
to follow the river, and I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's a wonderful solution.
And, I think if you go down to the Collins, what's the most important thing when you do the Collins, you see these broken views into the river. So yes, that's a revision that came.
It's the lime green.
Yes, that's a revision that came. Good. Now, we have internal sidewalk connections and pathway connections. We want to engage our residents also with that trail system. On it also. We do have a small kayak ramp that's coming down to the pond there, but just like the other midpoint, that would be for residents only. I think the feeling that the town also already has some really good node points into the water access.
But you can't get to the point from the road.
Oh, yeah, well, it depends.
I mean,
Depends on how high the water is.
It would be about a 10-foot portage. There's a little berg, there's a
That's the
little,
only way you can do it. You can't.
oh, I guess when it floods, you can.
You can't, if
They're
you're not.
gonna install a locking system.
Yeah.
for us. Well, I just think, in fact, that's where the old canal went through, so you probably find some little.
But I saw it, it's probably,
Correct, and then with, depending on
and it's
water
probably
flow,
small.
and I've seen the water flow both
Oh, really?
directions. Yeah, so depending upon where
But the pond itself is quite large and everything,
I
but
think
yeah,
it's
it's about this tall and about that wide, so for you to lift that kayak. And where we have it is I think maybe the current uses, they were using that to maybe, there's already a pathway going down through there. A lot of the bank along the river is actually elevation right, it's pretty steep, so even more reason to keep that bit. Where we are poking in, is pretty thin, pretty level. The other area in the dark green area, there's a lot of wetlands in there. And actually, there was some wetland creation that went on in this area here, so we're staying away from that area. That was, And actually, you can see that's probably some of the more stronger vegetation that's out there today. Also, that's down in the floodplain, so we didn't really want to. So we're keen to keep that. I don't think we've had any conversations with the town, formal conversations as to does that become open space or what's the thing, but we're not playing with it. So next slide. So walk you a little bit into these neighborhoods. So this is little area. So we have Bridgewater Road coming there. As I said, if you see, there's actually a large diameter pipe between the assisted living and these units, and comes down and scoots through. So that was, yeah, almost right there. So that's not there's a reason why we're kind of maintaining the buffer, but the regulations do call to provide setbacks from roads so that it's not a large area, but we felt we actually toyed with a lot of things here, and ultimately this was the configuration. As you can see, we are maintaining the access points into the assisted living as they currently exist today. And that's that upper road, those parking spaces already exist. And then this lower road here that already exists. So we're not there. But we are at, and as I said, where you see the number 2, that's kind of where Bridgewater ends. We'll build the new leg of it and then do a roundabout there. You can see off the left-hand side, there's the water supply well that we're not going there. But ultimately, you can see number 13, that's where our trail connection, I didn't draft it in, but that would ultimately link right up to where the other one stops. We'll have to do that final coordination, but I should probably do some calculations and see how long the ride is, but it's it'll be substantial. Next slide. This is so neighborhood B. These are the smaller townhomes. There's a variety of unit types in here that Jack and Tom will go through. We did create 2 basically amenity nodes in there. Basically more of a really we're trying to get some active recreation here. So in the center you'll see number 6. It's a clubhouse, a pool. I'm not sure those are pickleball or a multi-use court there. And then over on the left-hand side is another central green. That's probably more like a gazebo. I think we're showing a multi-court over there, maybe some grilling stations on there. But those are 2 kind of green space nodes. We did try to turn a bunch of these units 90 degrees. And what we did was there's only, I think, 3 curb cuts that actually come out to the public road. We didn't want to look, I would say litter, but we didn't want to populate this public road experience with all these curb cuts. So I think on this neighborhood, we're coming out with maybe 3 curb cuts and that's it. And I think even when we go into the next neighborhood, we might only have 2 curb cuts. We want that experience to come, on the connection to Central Way to feel like a public road and really be uninterrupted. Next slide. So this is neighborhood 3. We should probably come up with some more interesting names to these, but once again, so how did this get laid out? We started with the maintaining of the 100-foot buffer off the river. We made sure we were not impacting the previous wetlands on the right and the wetland mitigation, all the hard work that had went into there. And we started to lay out this development. One thing we did try to do here is create this, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a central green that goes through. So if you see in the middle part, number 17, that's more the active open green. So there is clubhouse, pool, walking trails, really connectivity. And you'll see there's trail connections going off into all the neighborhoods. And then to the south of that is really just an informal green space, I would call it. Trees, lawn, and everything. And then you drop down to what you see is more the eyebrow or the turnaround there. That continues the additional green space there. So we kind of created this central corridor of green space that everything is around it. Essentially, you could argue that probably 80, anywhere from 70 to maybe 70 to 80% of the units either look on the river or look on open space or look on this central green. And that was really an important thing. We do have some small areas of some visitor parking that are sprinkled. But once again, these would be units where everybody has a garage, everybody has a driveway. We still have to work out some of the details on those type of things, but there. But yeah, you can see on the plan, the trail system, And once again, you'll see that we're kind of poking out little neighborhood connections to these trail systems too. So it feels to be integrated. And also we have sidewalk connections that go from every neighborhood. So you can get from this neighborhood to the other neighborhood to the other neighborhood and then out to Farmington Ave. So there's sidewalk systems that are throughout it, but they're layered of hierarchy, I guess I would call it. You know, obviously the ones that are gonna be public are higher, are wider and feel, you know, more public. And then we'll downplay to more like 5-foot walks and as we get into the neighborhood. And then when we get into these green spaces, we may be dropping down into stone dust or some of those more, you know, organic materials.
What are the dimensions of that number 7 area roughly width and like
I would have to get you that. Maybe,
ballpark? How
uh,
long are those buildings? That would be measured.
I would say,
Buildings wide.
yeah, well, the roads are 24 feet wide throughout the project, so I would say that's probably 80 feet width. 80 feet and then probably 80 feet by, let's say 150 feet, and then you got 80 feet by another 150 feet. And then there, so it probably adds up to, you know, over, you know, I would say, you know, 1 to 2 acres. I can get you the actual dimensions
No,
there.
just trying to get.
But we try to pull these things apart, and then this is actually one of our last iterations where we just try to create this central core. And we actually had more units, we started pulling them apart and everything. And that's one of the reasons you'll see some units on the right-hand side, this kind of loop road with one-sided. We did, once again, we had this kind of, we created this separation between the public road because we didn't want all these curb cuts coming out on there. But also by getting those units, we were able to free up the core of the middle to do that. We've also, there's some areas that you can't see. And throughout the project, we budgeted some areas for stormwater management because that's really important because of Farmington River. But I can get you actual dimensions on that, but I think I would say it's about 80 feet
Yeah,
wide.
that's.
Jack, do you know how deep those architect plans are? The depth?
I don't.
Okay, so I can get you, we can get that. And I think Shannon, that is.
Yes, that is your last slide on that deck, yes.
So I'm either more than happy to answer questions on the site plan, or would you like to go through the architecture and come back?
How does the floodplain, how do you deal with that?
So the floodplain is interesting thing. Elevation wise, we're above the floodplain. And there's pending floodplain maps that are already gone through some review process where all that floodplain actually goes away and the units are out of it. So the Army, well, federal government has preliminary maps. To be honest, I can't get an answer as to when they're going to be adopted.
I think it's very, very.
Oh, yeah.
We just got
Yeah.
notification.
So what they're doing? Yeah, what they did was if you ever think about it, if you look at a lot of floodplain maps, you have to scratch, they don't really follow the topo. But now there's a thing called LiDAR, so they can actually get real topo on these sites. So ultimately what they did was they took the line with better technology. So, and obviously this area has been lifted up over time with the gravel operations. So most of those units, so you're allowed to build in the floodplain, you just have to mitigate for it. So if I do any flood filling, I gotta excavate for it, or those buildings have to be above the flood elevation. But if these maps get approved, that floodplain will be dramatically less than what you see there.
On that center road that bisects the large U, is that really necessary? Yeah.
Everything's up for discussion. What we tried to do was that's a little bit of the, I guess, the more community space. So that central row is where there's gonna be parking for the clubhouse. And we're trying to we use that road to be a little bit of a node to get you to the clubhouse and make more community space on there. We'd have to. But that was our. That's where all our visitor
If
park.
you pull the community center down, so that the road.
Yeah.
Move it down the road.
Yeah.
Push it up.
Push it up to the other side.
Yeah.
What you're suggesting is maybe push up the side and just have the screen space all the way through the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, that center road, if you look at it, the center road is serving one thing. It's the community space.
And pushing it out there more, if you had that huge green space.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's, yeah. Yeah, it's not, I mean, we have, as you can see, we've laid it out with very good circulation for fire trucks, so that linkage is not critical to that.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, considering you have those two roads coming
Yes,
from the wing.
yes,
Get that clean.
yeah, that's, it's. Order will be really. Yeah. And that was one of the, in the last few iterations, we've been working harder and harder to keep that, really, get as much green space in that central core. Because there's a lot of units that are having wonderful open space, like the river views and everything, but it felt like it was a little too tight in the middle. So that's where we actually pulled the project apart, but Sheldon, I can see what you're saying, that would be, next thing you know, you got probably 2 acres of uninhibited green space. You're going.
Maybe you'll get into this with the architecture, but it looks like all the homes are the exact same footprint, the same. But I thought I saw different, there's that different configuration.
That's just the civil engineer, not how we get it. So, really the intent of these are kind of set up like, it'd almost be like, I don't know, the ownership, but it's almost like you don't want to be like mini lot. So what you can see, there's very faint lines in there of like, it basically maybe an exclusive use area. It's not a subdivision per se, but they're like, things. So we were trying to create these, I think we might have tried to pick one of the bigger footprints to make sure it was always fitting on, but I think their intent is to have a variety.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought, but.
I guess our goal in this master plan was more to lay out the frame,
Nice.
well, yeah, and the map, and get the roads, right, the road network and those type of infrastructure improvements, there.
I think the intent is that the lot C single family homes will be custom to that. Custom for each homeowner would design their own.
Yeah. Makes sense. And the original P O C D talked about was, like, P O C D talks about, they did intend this to be more lower density, high end residential is what they talked about on this piece. The middle piece, they talked more about senior living, but that was when we had, senior living at that time was the thing. We believe our product can still check that box on that. I think we've moved very much in, I believe that we've evolved this plan a lot, and I believe we moved to a plan that's probably pretty close, as close to the P O C D as we thought we could get. We looked at a lot of different styles, but this is where we landed.
Are you sort of suggesting that A and B is more like, not age restricted, but targeted? Or, well, maybe lot A is currently designed as a product type that would appeal to an empty nester. Yeah. And we have primarily, we have 2 designs, but primarily we are appealing to empty nesters with first floor master bedroom suite. Yeah. And I think lot B also, we got a fair amount of interest from people from our website, the articles and so forth, and we've had a lot of interest from empty nesters, people that to have either a first floor master suite or a smaller house, living currently in a larger house. So lot B could be a more active kind of C area. Generation.
I think previously, well, when we did senior living up on the corner, that was when I think the P O C D was being evolved, and we just had done the assisted living. So there was some, to be honest, I think there was some thought maybe that the assisted living facility would turn this more into a bigger community. And at that time, they just chose not to do that. So we're just making some small revisions to the P O C D basically to align with this plan. But I think, to be honest, when we started, we were making more modifications, but as we evolve this plan, we're actually making just some fairly modest ones now. I think that's kind of my presentation. Jack, do you want to get into the, and we can come back to this, but I think let's get into.
Well, we have lot A that is comprised of.
Do you want you tell me what I've got, do you want your architecture or you want to see what the site plan?
Let's go with the architecture. We have two basic plans on lot A. This is one plan that does not have a first floor master bedroom suite. It's a second floor suite. A larger first floor, obviously. And this would fit on that lot A plan. In addition, we think the preponderance of plans. Units would be built for empty restrooms. And Shannon, if you go to the next slide, please. That shows the first floor. Unit without the master suite. Second, next one, please. Next one, please.
Keep going.
Keep going. And this represents just the profiles of the side, rear, and front of the building. Please stop if you have any questions. Next slide, please. You can see each unit has a double car garage with parking in front. And again, this is the first plan that does not have the first floor master suite. Next slide, please. Next slide. So these are the plans that we are proposing that would have a double car garage, first floor master bedroom suite. And it could be configured as 2 bedrooms. Again, we expect that a lot of the units would be custom designed as well. But again, the targeted market we believe on this product type is the empty nester marketplace. You think these would be custom designed, the townhomes? Yes. So people would be building their own individual townhomes with a. I like to make adjustments to the side.
For the interior.
For the interior. So this one actually shows a basement area as well, and this one has the first floor master bedroom suite. So there's a lot of variation that could be developed depending upon the desires of the homeowner. Again, we've had a fair amount of interest from people who have contacted us, and many people expressed interest in the single family, the single level concept. We have a different design in terms of exterior architecture, combining lap siding and brick. All lap siding. Next slide, please. Are there third floors in this building? No. That's a typical.
So the dormer is the faux.
Correct, yes. So this is a plan that shows brick and lap siding, the rear yard. That lap side looks more like a stucco or a. This or is it panel?
2 foot lap. Yeah.
That's a lot of fun on this. That's a lot of fun on this slide. That I love it.
So there's you basically can walk out then from your first floor unit into the backyard. Each unit with landscaping, small healthy area.
So that would be an elevation potentially facing Bridgewater. Your parking's to the rear, right, Jack? On the backside is parking.
This is the backside and parking's on the front side.
Yeah, well, front face, but this is the backside, but that would be the facade facing.
So you're
Yeah, that would be.
facing.
Right, it would be, maybe that's kind of it's the public facing, which before you are. Yeah, in the back, that was opposite. Yep,
Right. So it'd be either facing
Correct.
Bridgewater or facing
Correct.
Anthology.
correct.
So that green area in front of the hedge,
Yes.
separated from the houses by a fence, or do you have a plan view that's smaller? It's gonna be larger, so.
Yeah, no, behind the kitchen.
Right
That's what I
there.
got.
So that green space between. If you want Bridgewater, the green space is between, yeah, there to Bridgewater is what that is.
Or in here.
The houses seem particularly disconnected from the landscaping site from the overhang, Juliet balconies or anything. like that. You're going to a lot of talk to put together a pretty nice site plan, and you have proximity to the river and such a great amenity. Yet I don't see the next step connection from the houses there to the river or the pond.
Well, I think there are connections, I believe, via trails to.
Yeah, I know, I can get out, well, what if I'm gonna walk down, I'm gonna do this?
Well, those units are coming. So I don't know. Is there another, you want to go into, the architecture, or you want to? Or we can skip to C, let's why don't we go to C, I think it is.
This is flat A.
It's just a-
All
All these are just A, correct?
Yes, yes.
So
All those.
the ones we just looked at were all just for.
Yes, just that one small little,
So the design you showed where the kind of the garage was sticking out more, as it was the first ones we looked at, which was kind of tucked into the building. That is all not seen from the street. That's all you're driving around.
yes,
So this is what we're seeing from the
for
road.
the public.
And the garages that,
Yes.
whether they stick out or not.
Yes.
That's how you.
Yes.
Turn it. Got it.
Yes.
Great.
That would either be, that's,
Right.
that facade, yes, correct. It's almost the alley.
Yeah, I
approach, yeah.
There for those garages.
Yeah.
However.
Yeah.
The only people who are gonna see that are the
Yeah.
people that live there, so.
And more, I guess, more of a Virginia style, right?
Right.
And these are ownership.
That's the intent right there. I mean, I think the product exclusively speaks to those commercial products.
But but I'm still confused by the iron fence and
Yeah.
the hedge. Is that a common, no, on the
On the
other
left,
side?
on the bottom, the left,
Yes.
It's just creating a little patio.
So who owns this lawn? Each unit owns some of that lawn. So
It'd be interesting.
Probably it's like.
You probably going up to the pad, to the Broad Irish, there's a little
Okay.
patio, but after that, that landscape buffer between the hedge and the road would be maintained by the association.
Yeah. Is there access to that?
It's that little like garden piece. Yeah, that would be, right, maybe people like.
You got some place to work.
Yeah, it's right, you have you know. Indeed, you know. Maybe take a side over the street, but you can- Okay.
there's still two sets of architecture. Yeah. So B is gonna be the center portion.
So this section. Two different paths. Here, abstracting cover. Appreciation. Say, say. That's silver. 2, 5, 8.
You can see why it's kind of like, you can see the cross section is a high level. There, what we're trying to do there is garages are allowed to be in the floodplain, but finished floors. But to be honest, this is not in the FEMA floodplain.
Okay.
This is a town overlay zone, an adjacent regulation that does it. So we're not in the floodplain, but we're in the town ordinance of the overlay zone. But this area is about 175. We're trying to avoid to import a huge amount of material. So essentially, can we solve the thing through architecture as opposed to just bringing in mounds of dirt? So the concept here, that's why I think I saw David Chris' various comments, like, why is this showing here? That's what maybe you're doing. So maybe the central road is at a higher elevation on the backside of these. So really, maybe from the central way, the buildings are actually presenting, right, Jack, at more of a 2-story elevation. But then at the rear, they present things, and we don't have to bring in all this fill.
But you have tables.
Yeah, you'd have to, like, between the units, you'd have to have stairs up. Yeah, that's correct. It's,
If you do go back to that elevation,
but
So
what I
if you're
explained,
talking about in here, right?
that is my,
This is
yes,
eight, so
in the
how-
central core, we're trying to keep elevation down, but the finished floors all have to be up. So the concept potentially could be, I know we have to work out those details, obviously, but the road would be high.
So that's back here. So what
Yeah.
you're saying we're looking at
Yeah,
is back
so-
here. That road was high and then these garages are,
Or one
this-
story down, so the buildings are potentially presenting as shorter on that
so
side.
this road,
Yeah.
this roadway is roughly 10 feet higher than this parking area.
Give or,
Eight to 10 feet.
Yeah,
And
maybe
a
they-
garage,
yeah. But obviously, you think about the size, and you have to import 6 feet of fill, that's a lot of material, so. That's what we're trying to solve through architecture as opposed to just bringing trucks in
So existing topography is essentially flat.
very flat.
So
Stan, can you go back one slide? please?
Yes, you want, you
Yeah, I
want
just
to,
wanted to look at how much more inviting this facades look with the window boxes and the small balconies coming out. I would urge the architect to think about that a little more thoroughly.
We can certainly do that.
so Sheldon, you're, so the window boxes and the Juliet or So the balcony is more.
I think the connection from the interior of the townhome out to the street and the landscaping is an important one, and I would try to encourage it in as many living areas as you could.
Thank you.
I'd love to see some more of that about lot eight,
Yeah, I'm unclear on where the lots are, but
you want to, or that.
Yeah. people want to get outside. You may go into a lot of trouble to put bike path in. So you have a garage, so bikes could be stored and you can get to the path. But most of the guys,
Those guys are angry, these guys are angry. In terms of being able to get outside and meet about,
yeah,
whereas those units all have the backyard.
well, that is important because when you come back from a bike ride, your wife won't let you in the house.
So the elevation, this 1-story elevation change is accomplished with a retaining wall. So,
Yeah,
so the side yard here is flat until it gets to the front of the building. And then there's a-
halfway through or something, yeah, correct, correct. So you're allowed to have garages in the town flood zone, but mechanicals and.
I'm curious about the transition from the lower level to the lower road to the upper road.
Yeah, and it may not be a full story, like you could actually have the front side of these where you come out and you have a stoop and it comes down and it's more. It might not be fully.
Any thoughts on the material in that retaining?
No, but I would anticipate that some of these buildings are so, maintenance is just cheaper to pour it all as one foundation, on there, but I could almost see where we're probably not trying to do a full 10-foot story, it's trying to just split the difference. So these, I could see the units on this side having a front porch, couple steps down, and then so it's maybe 5 and 5 on the two, so.
But the majority of the buildings are perpendicular to the street.
Yeah, so that will have to be a little bit, that will have to be some other detail we're gonna figure out.
Units may stuff
Yeah.
down or something.
Yeah, step the units or something. And
So the, can you go back to the architecture, the rendering?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Look
that's
at,
fine.
we're doing architecture. Look at that, they said you wanted to go through all these first. Yeah, oh yeah, you're right.
I would go with it.
We used
It
to be
looks-
having no rules.
It looks like the site plan doesn't have those landscape islands that I'm seeing between. It looks like there's just a ton of pavement, not,
So we're gonna back to here.
yeah, like I'm just seeing.
Yeah, well, there's a tent, so
Yeah,
I think
it's a
there's
town,
little,
but it's not,
yeah.
it might,
That's
once
right.
again, fall into
That's
the
I think it's
liberties of the render.
Yeah, okay.
at the scale.
Yeah.
I think too, perhaps, so the scale of this versus the.
Yeah,
Oh, there's a
yeah,
couple
I think
more
there's a
here.
se- There's I think there's a second product in here.
Apparently we bored all the kids.
We're gonna.
They hit their hour.
Yeah.
Is that what
They hit their hour.
Is that all?
Apparently, it doesn't matter if you arrive on time or not, but they hit 8 o'clock and they took their pictures.
Selfies.
Oh, something's on.
They used to make you, they used to actually.
Well, we had
right?
sign or we
Yeah.
had to do photos, is whatever, it depends on the teacher and the moon phase, I think.
Oh, so that you're done here at 24, so I guess we would.
So this is it, yeah,
That's the
so
last
this,
page.
this looks the same, if there's a difference between those two, I don't know what it is.
There is another, single with. I have a copy of it.
So, I mean, that's, yeah, that's what's in this.
Well, there was the brick and.
So there's,
2 or 3 of them in here.
You have a site section
Do
drawing?
you want to-
so that's what I got here.
Yeah.
And do we want to go to C?
Sure.
We're gonna do lot C before hang on first. We're gonna do lot C.
Sure.
So that we've seen everything here. If I don't have, whatever he's opening, I don't have, so then it's Bob Sanford's not gonna see it either, so. So this is lot C, this is the single family home version. And the single family homes are the Peninsula. Over. Hey, anybody needs a news update? Or a four? So this is the peninsula, so the single family. Okay, so there we go. You want me to scroll through, or you wanna?
Well, I
Gary?
mean, essentially, we think that the homes will be custom designed and look from a floor plan standpoint and from an exterior standpoint. So these are just examples of what we thought might work on the plan. We have done something different. That's put a number of side entry garages in, which eliminates the row of garages on the street. So that's that concept, that side entry garage concept. But again, we think these will be custom homes, they would really expensive homes. And be a lot of design done on the part of the customer.
But they can do whatever they want. They can build a modern home with a traditional home.
Well, it's gonna, yeah, it's gotta fit the space, so to that point, there are. Each house has a lot
Right.
area assigned to it.
So what would prevent someone from coming in with a contemporary look?
Bob, well, we can, I mean, I don't think there's anything in the regulation that does. Some TPZ one of the, like a condition of, that the common interest documents require some type of architectural approval that's consistent. Additional standards, I'm sort of spitballing the language here, but it could be done through a private covenant. Have an interest.
We got some of that in there.
Yeah. It's possible to do it, shouldn't it?
Some of these are 2-car and some of them are 3. Would they all have the opportunity for 3 depending on the design? So every lot would have room for 3, is that?
We believe so, yes, depending upon the side of the house.
So someone might want just a 2-car garage, not a 3, that maybe they want more house.
Correct.
Yeah.
Would probably be setback requirements for the lots or something.
So change that there's a buildable area.
Yeah.
on each line.
Yeah,
Just create a little envelope, so
Yeah, we
that
can-
green space.
Set some standards, you know, almost like, almost create like subdivision regulation in there. I mean, at this point, I think 2-car garages fit better on the sites. 3s maybe on when you're hitting the curve and they flare out, but in the central core, I would say 2 fit better. Yeah, but we would have to make some, we've done this before where it was, it was create their own little setbacks in the code or in the site plans when we come in for more detailed site plan.
I was so big, the computer doesn't wanna, I'm scrolling and it's thinking and it's thinking and it's thinking.
Well, I'd be all for no comment on what the architecture should look like. You know, perfect. You know, for me, no comment. Yeah, that would agree.
So, hey, Bob here, I've got one question. So on the area C here, I know you're talking about, but I don't totally follow. As individual lots get built, who has what oversight over what they look like? Because there's, a lot of different styles here, some that may or may not go well together.
Well, that's what we were just talking about, Bob, that the other Bob in the room was saying that it could be a covenant written in somehow into the ownership, whatever private part of it, but we were kicking around, both Miles and I said, we didn't think that there should be, that anybody could kind of build what they want, in terms of the style, that there could be contemporary houses. It could be sitting next to a traditional house. That there's, but I don't know what others think, in terms of, I mean, it doesn't all have to be traditional looking.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I agree with you guys.
I think, let's go.
We're actually afraid to show you a modern design.
Well, there's probably others in town that
It would probably be
Actually,
height restrictions, obviously, or something, right?
Yes.
And minimum take,
Yeah.
minimum sizes, yeah.
Okay. So each of these lot owners would come to the town for approval of their designs,
Well, so, you need it for a building permit, so
Yeah.
but from a design standpoint. If it fits, so unless there's a design parameter. If we don't like the garage being the prominent feature, sticking right, so if there's something to that end, I understand from my. Temporary versus traditional, right, there's not a statement regarding that, if there are other. Elements regarding, we'll have to see maximum size, I don't know what these footprints are, I know the information is. There, I have not looked and I haven't done area calculation on these. So. There'd be a maximum, probably a maximum living area, a maximum. Garage area, so not to exceed 3-car. The 4-car garage would be really out of place here, and I'm not sure how that would even be accommodated. So, probably a maximum living area. And there'd be maximum height. And then they have to, I think we want 2-story, I think I don't know if these are gonna look well, I don't know that we want. Branches in here and everything else is a 2-story, so it's that type of massing information would be very helpful. If you're not particular on style, the massing information might be helpful. And then these are all come for building permits, so they'll have to figure out if they're lots and how we're numbering them, so that's.
I think that if we don't limit it. For a 2-story house, we're gonna run out of land.
You know, the reality is in marketing, you do exactly what you're talking. You can't have somebody build something that is so hot that it's gonna make it impossible to sell a lot next to it. You know, we simply, we have the same interests.
It's pretty typical in communities like this for the developer to have an architectural, private architectural design process. Go through.
Custom houses usually are choose from these 4 or 5.
I get just wondering, if, say a senior person wants to move in here and doesn't want a second story, so they can't get up and down the stairs.
And that's quite possibly even the development for them, because even all the townhomes, I mean, they're the first floor master on the townhomes, but.
Well, in our experience, they want to have a second bedroom or a third bedroom or grandchildren or guests or something.
Or an elevator potentially, I guess. Right?
Yeah, we have an optional elevator in the lot A units that doesn't have the first floor master bedrooms. Show you that plan if you like, but. There's a lot of flexibility from our point, I guess, at this point in time. We didn't spend a lot of time on the single family home. Because. And we talked to Jack Kemper about this, and he was again as well under the impression of custom design to
but when you say custom design, you mean choosing from 4 designs.
Well, I think
Floor plan different, but
It's pretty unusual you get a buyer who comes and wants to build just a totally custom, you know, custom is by definition, they need a lot.
could someone buy 2 lots and build a bigger house?
Oh, no.
I think that's up to you. Keep these things.
They're actually all on one lot there, it's separate subdivided lots. But exclusive use areas. Geo.
So you're not doing these.
You're not buying a piece. Associations. The way it's one of some, it's not a separate subdivided lot. Your unit is going to be, single family home, your unit will include grassy area around your home. The townhomes, your unit's gonna stop at the wall, probably the interior wall on the townhomes, because the association.
So who owns the infrastructure to the home, water, sewer?
The association will maintain it up the private roads anyway, and then to get it into the building that can vary depending on how the developer wants to go. Most likely get it to the home.
So these will be private homes with an association fee.
It will.
So they'll be more.
Sure, but yeah.
So
You gotta maintain the roads.
Yeah.
Hookup would be the homeowner. Did most likely.
So it'll be like our senior active adult, like the ones that were just down at Plainville Avenue, say, so lovely development, Plainville Avenue, same idea, so.
In terms of maintenance of the exterior of the single family homes, I've seen that go both ways. Here, it's hard to
I
say.
think most of the ones I've seen that it goes to you're responsible or your own exterior, your roof.
Yeah.
I've seen that even with the townhomes,
Okay.
yeah,
I think that's getting more of a trend.
with the townhomes.
It's too much to put on an association.
Where's one more friend?
Roofs, well,
Yeah.
My brother just did it in Pennsylvania and he thankfully got his two neighbors to go out and they did it all at once.
Yeah.
And it just, they all split it 3 ways, did the whole thing at once.
Works when nobody agrees.
A lot of things do.
Yes.
How quickly it unravels when one doesn't.
So how would you suggest, are you looking to us come up with like,
I'm looking, and I think they are looking for comment, and I think it might be easiest to go back. And I don't care which one we start with, which group. It would be really helpful if we stick with one group, discuss it, finish it, and then move to the next group. So that I think from an organizational standpoint and synthesizing this information for me and for them, is gonna be the easiest. And yes, anything that is related either to the building, the massing, the landscaping, how it's laid out, so we can start with the building itself and then go to the site as to how it's laid out, and we touched that a little bit as Tom went through his. So
because
yeah,
I think like for the single family home stuff, for me, it would make sense for these guys to say, here's what we're thinking for size, here's what we think can fit, here's, it's really hard to just say,
Yep.
you know, massing. I don't think we can do the single family home stuff today.
that's
So
fine.
I guess is where I'm talking about. How you guys feel, but if you guys could come back to us and say, on the single family home stuff, here's the buildable area, and a typical lot, or whatever, however you guys do it. And then here's what we're seeing for thinking for size of unit and size of garage, like Tom saying, thinks that 2-car garages would fit better than 3, but or are they all universal and they all that just give us some parameters of what you guys think that kind of looks like. We can, in the meantime, think a little bit about if we were to put some parameters around it, what those would be. Which I don't think, from what I'm hearing from the group, is gonna be architectural. I don't think that's gonna be, we're gonna say it's gotta be a colonial with a, 12-pitch roof on there, so it's gonna be more. Are they all 2-story, or are the lots big enough to accommodate them? I mean, there's plenty of neighborhoods that have big ranches in them that are all single floor living. That could be very elegant and look almost like 2-story, but it's all 1-floor living. We don't know if the lots are big enough to do
So what I need to do is a typical plot plan. Maybe pick 1 or 2 of that are typical, maybe a small one and a big one. Give you the size, give the dimensions, because you're right, at this scale, you're right. Is that 100 by 100 or is that 40 by 50? And then you can then give us guidance that, okay, if that's the type of footprint you're like, these are the type of things. Because also you don't want to book a building that's, skinny, it looks silly, right? You may come back to me and say, hey, those ones a little too skinny, architecturally, we don't think that's gonna really present well. How about you make those lots a little bit wider and the ones over there, they can go narrower, right? So I think I need to do a little plot plan.
But you do that by group, A, B, and C.
Well, the other ones, no, the only one we have lots on is C. This one's C. The other ones are, they're townhouses, so that's a different thing, but I think I need to, I hear what you're saying.
For C, I
Yes.
think you guys can bring
Yes,
that.
we need to come back to you.
And I think getting it electronically to us.
Yeah.
Is fine, and then we'll come back together or something.
Sure, yeah, as it's ready, so no, there, so the next meeting is June. What's the third? That's in my.
Plus 18.
The eighteenth, you're looking for the third Thursday?
Third.
18th.
Yep. So,
We could definitely quickly put those plot plans together and get that all reviewed in the hands of that meeting. So we can get some feedback. Yeah, that's.
so
Then we start kicking around that.
you can start, right,
Yes.
so, I mean, I realized this was a lot to try to chew on from home. I know, I gave you the links, I pointed you in the directions, but I know there was a lot of stuff.
I think we can get through A and B kind of.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. All right, is there anything else on so is there a comment regarding the garage board, or we want to just wait, we're gonna. Got it. All right, anything else on C?
Are there gonna be sidewalks? I mean, I think you do some show sidewalks.
Yes, we do.
Is that?
Yep. You may not show up in driveway, so we do have sidewalks.
Okay, so the intent is there's sidewalks on these perimeters?
Yeah, I don't know if it's on both sides of the street.
Sure,
It's hard to tell, but I think it's,
okay,
Did you show moving the middle street as well on the great?
oh, no, we do have.
Moving this guy
Yeah, do we feel strongly to get?
That guy.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
got,
I see what you're saying, shove it
idea.
and then open up that whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a,
to push that up.
I'll flip that.
It's clear that this is a community of active people, whether they're seniors or younger, are gonna be very welcome.
That's a big part.
Welcome to trails, and I think a corridor, maybe they could walk down the middle.
Yeah.
That's a great, it's like a nature walk, that's. I do think that would be an attractive selling point to these homes, to have a stretch that's unspoiled. like that.
Public access to our river near.
Well, we're not proposing public access. When I say public,
I
it's
mean,
neighborhood access is right there. There it is.
It's right here.
just the one.
This is very steep.
Yeah.
This is, you'll twist an ankle coming down here, because this was all gravel pit here, but there's a natural trough that comes down here that just, when I walked it, it was a no-brainer to have it out there. It's,
Yeah.
these are steep, these will be quite proud above the river.
Do you have a view corridor through there over the cliff? So
This is quite scrubby. So yes, you will get water views.
Most likely, yes, at the same time.
Over time, it'll grow up.
So that 100-foot buffer has to be maintained, so we're not gonna be opening up. Or,
But the 100-foot buffer is horizontal, it's not vertical.
correct, yes, sir,
Just check me.
yes, sir. But I've gotta, yes, so Farmington River Watershed, there's multiple agencies that will ensure that must remain intact.
You don't wanna cut all the trees down, because it will run away.
Well, it's more, I think it's more of an erosion issue. But remember, this was a gravel pit, so it's not, if you go on the other midpoint, you get some pretty good trees down on there. This one's been, been manipulated over history. So it's a little more scrubby. Will it grow up over time? That's fine. But I think we're also elevated enough that you're a little into the canopy. So I mean, they might be seasonal, but during the winter, you're gonna have an
I do,
amazing
so
year.
the whole time. Absolutely.
And that's the only access to the bike path of the neighborhood too, right? I mean, you've got the access up by the circle.
Yes.
I see. Right.
Yeah, we want
Little
to,
connection.
yeah, a little connection right there. Yes.
Do you have any waterfowl along the waterfront there? In that green space? Ducks.
I haven't studied that, no. I assume so.
14 with the other.
I'm sure there are,
Yeah,
there's
sure.
fishing, there's plenty of fishing, there's all sorts of stuff.
there's ducks, there's geese, there's lots of northern water snakes. There's all kinds of fish in there.
Otter or beaver, we've been down there, you can hear them. I've seen the beaver, it's just mowed down trees in
There's
there.
an eagle there every once in a while,
Yeah,
a
so
couple of
the
very big bears.
Oh, yeah. Here's
wildlife is, I would say, reasonably diverse here. So. Okay, we're good with lot C. Going once, Bob, you're all good with lot C?
Yes, yep.
Alrighty, sir. Okay, we are gonna go, I'm gonna go back through reverse, okay, we're gonna be, anybody care? Okay, I'm just checking. You're the ones that have to comment, I'm just starting. So that's the layout of B, and then the architecture of B. You wanna start with the architecture?
Sure.
Okay. Architecture, lot B. I can flip through, I can, if whatever anybody want, if I can flip through again, if that's helpful.
I think one thing that Sheldon said, that figuring out a section or a couple of sections, kind of how it functions. You know, the buildings work on the site, in terms of what's high, what's low. In terms of what you're gonna see from the road versus the parking area, I think would be up.
Okay. To understand.
Everybody's got it.
correctly,
Everybody's got a comment on the vertical window.
It's vertical window.
Yeah. We don't like any of the vertical windows, no. That's fine with us.
They just seem really close to the head corner of the building and kind of forced in there, but.
Why don't we just eliminate them? How about that?
You put a window in the stair.
Yeah.
Top and bottom.
Yeah.
All your other windows trying to get a curve.
Yeah. A lot of trim, and these are totally different style.
So you want windows or not?
Yeah, but make it fit.
I understand what you're saying. These, it's not.
So these windows are, I think, you know, because it's a stairwell.
fun
so it's
idea.
different if you have like a chandelier or something hanging there, but to showcase it, but it's
It's a
It's
fun
not-
idea, just.
it's
doesn't look
not
like-
done.
No.
I think what you're saying is two rectangular windows with that. And so there's no floor room.
They can be smaller windows too.
It's just not executed.
Check and draw. I would sort of use that. Like.
So I suggest.
The trend, like how the whole window is treated, right? It's going to appear to them. the internet, so all one style, but say the clapboard can change colors depending neighbor to neighbor, or they can be. Things, and we've got a lot of things. So. We could walk.
Were they all?
I think they're all one plane, actually.
Mostly one plane, so this is. Close.
You
See,
push
that's
the
an
roof
awkward-
up and down, you
Yeah.
can push the.
If those are all in one plane, it's really an awkward detail. If you've got clappers butting up against clappers, they're different colors. The weathering may be different, it might be off by half an inch, and then the carpenter's gonna kill you. Or you'll kill him.
So you're saying it's one thing and out.
Bumping it out allows you to make that transition from one type of siding to the other very easily, but, you know, bump can be a foot, pretty much. And then you get a shadow line, and you get a good differentiation passing. From one line to another.
So what's your opinion on, whether we should have a diversity of, exteriors on the plans then? You want to see just one type of unit throughout, or do you want to?
No, I think that the diversity shown makes a lot of sense, particularly for that size of the development.
Mix. I mean, I think this is the most successful of the ones. You guys have shown that.
Is there feedback on the chimneys? Somebody said something about the chimneys.
No, I like the chimney.
You like
I
it?
don't know if they all need to have a chimney, but certainly it's a great class of look. I don't know if the chimney in the dormer. It's not too much. But the idea of the Georgian ironwork and the flower boxes, that's maintenance, but. And I don't know if the brick, if that's not a patio, that's just. Windows that are longer. But I like, yeah, French balcony, exactly.
But if you could push the brick building
Yeah.
back or foot from the, whatever.
See, I
Something.
break out.
Well, either way.
But you can develop the corners.
Yeah,
Much
absolutely.
more strong.
I think, yeah, mixing some of those, some of these,
Right.
where there's some flat. No arches and some of these over the garage doors and.
Okay, so we like the balconies, we like the window boxes. We like the chimneys where appropriate. I wanna see some horizontal articulation. There's already a little bit of vertical articulation.
And then the multicolored style, they first showed us.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Is that third style or is that? A little
Yeah.
bit too different. I
Yeah,
like
like
two
two
plus,
plus.
these two. Yeah. I think it's just a little, and the rest of it's got such collapses.
So just this.
Trying to do everything. Fine.
So there are three total? can't
I think, yeah, no, so if
Yeah,
you go
so
through, there's
Kind of ones that.
version 1B is how it's labeled,
Chimney version.
and then that's really the same thing, it's just not, doesn't have a label unless I'm missing something, I think that's the same thing. And then this is 2, this just is version 3, yes.
Well, I could see,
And that's the same,
so maybe it's, maybe
And
there's
then-
three of these, maybe one's all brick, maybe one's all clapboard, maybe one's a that. And that just, you know, you play with different, some have dormers, some don't have dormers, some have chimneys. Some have, and, you know, you play a little bit with the window.
Yeah, you could have the kit parts.
Yeah, I think providing the kit parts would be good, there's a little bit too much. Right, like, you know, brick and fiber, different colors.
You can get a lot of diversity, even those two styles. The dormer, the non-dormer, but to your point. the chimney
That would be
version,
part of
the other non-
Miles, the dormer or the chimney or, you know, small pieces.
Key. No.
so the 3, this one and the brick and clapboard are the preferred for this. And that first one.
Yeah.
So we like that one and we like this one. And we're less on that one.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And then universal, okay. So,
So we're suggesting maybe there's a third version
energy,
that could be all brick.
okay,
Maybe there's 2 of those, you know, in the back, says you guys put this all together. Could be interesting.
A quick question on the version that's brick and then some other siding, was that gonna be a clapboard? Cause it almost shows like a smooth board of some sort. Yeah, that one.
yeah, it doesn't look like clapboard like the first option, I agree.
It
I don't
looks
know.
like it's either
And
stucco underneath this or potentially or like.
But I think they're saying it could be whatever we're thinking.
So, I mean, I like this design, but I think the left unit and the second over from the right should be a clapboard as opposed to whatever's being shown.
You could do clapboards, you could do shade, something that, you know, above up in the pediment, you know, in the end.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Tim, I'm a little concerned with this is a big neighborhood with a lot of buildings in it. And maybe one way of, rather than distinguishing each unit from the one adjacent on it. I think this is what you were starting to say earlier, have a block that will build, I mean, there's some really elegant neighborhoods in there. You know, Mayfair and London that are, everything's the same for a whole block. But you get to the end of the block and you go around the corner. And everything's the same but different from that street. And then they're more high style and more modest, but it creates a sense of neighborhood, whereas if we just make every other one in and out, up and down, or brick and clapboard, it just kind of. In a small neighborhood, I could see that, but in a big crowded neighborhood like this, it seems maybe all the buildings on one street, like say that street way to the left, would be the same. And then maybe all the next ones that are running horizontally in this would be different from that, but the same.
Create neighborhoods.
Like a group, like
So
mini
Help
neighborhood.
create a sense of, like, oh, this is a neighborhood and this is a slightly different neighborhood, although I understand. Georgian neighborhood. Yeah.
You were saying maybe like, literally make these neighborhoods. like these four,
All
and
the
this
same.
group, and these four.
Yeah,
Maybe these are the mixed ones or something, I don't know, and then.
I'm not against the mixing at all. I think that has a lot of advantages, but when you look at the neighborhood,
I know one-
how many units are here? It's 75 or something.
That's a good idea.
It makes the last.
There are garages here, is that correct? These here, is that what I'm looking, so these are homes, but are these garages to be rented or are those?
No, they're all townhomes,
These are all townhomes, it's just, okay, there's no,
skinnier or something.
Yeah, there's-
they definitely present
That's-
different, so
That's
that's,
what's in the roll, maybe, yes, so we'll have to get you those. That's what's in the roll.
okay.
So that's the more modest neighborhood, the little
Yes.
skinny ones.
Yeah. So we don't even-
Right. Those would, you wouldn't want those as grand in their appearance as you would for the bigger ones.
Right.
In my aesthetic.
Or maybe they're not like.
Reaching a little, yeah.
Sharon, are you sending up comments after?
Oh, yeah, it's gonna take a bit though. Yes, I am,
You can run it through a lot.
but I hope you're keeping notes or something, so it's gonna take a bit.
Well, I'm just throwing this idea out for,
It won't be tomorrow and it probably won't be next
I
week.
like that neighborhood idea.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So would you like us to make these changes and send you the plans for their review before?
Sure.
The formal meeting?
We're happy to look at stuff electronically.
Yeah.
Okay, but
If we could get comments, that would be, that'd be great.
Yeah, anything that comes in, because it's now active from a public standpoint, though, it will be posted to the website, so these iterations. Even though they're coming back for feedback, they will be posted, and I'm gonna make it publicly available, so
Sure.
I also. We're not gonna do this on multiple plans, so.
Well,
It just gets the management of it is gonna be,
we could actually do the designs and put them on our website. Let you know, and then they can.
it's still, I need public access to it, so it doesn't matter regardless, it needs to be, because the public hearing has been noticed and started the clock, I can't have.
We'll be conscientious
Yeah.
of, we'll put them together in organized packages.
Yeah,
And, if it's okay, if we do get some in order, but you don't want 15 packages, right?
no, I don't,
So-
so like I prefer to get, if you.
Yep.
We could do it by lot, if you wanna do, if you
Okay.
get one lot ready
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's ready to go.
Okay.
I'll do that,
'Cause
but I don't want part of lot,
Yeah.
here's part of lot one and here's part of lot two, so finish a lot, get it to me.
That's a
and then-
great idea, because also, we also don't wanna spin our wheels on 3 lots and don't give you guys enough time, so maybe we'll attack it too on a lot by lot basis, give it to you. Just like we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
We'll just keep on, that's a great way to do it, we'll make sure we'll bundle it by lot.
Okay.
Okay,
That's fair.
for a neighborhood or whatever.
And could we at least tell these gentlemen that we appreciate their effort and think they're on the right track and keep going?
Well-
Would that be a fair summary?
Sure, yes, and we've got
Because I
another.
was sat over there and.
We've got.
Yeah.
Well, and we've got another lot to do too, so we've got another lot to do.
In terms of the general like site layout of the whole vehicular part of the backs of these buildings, front, back of the church, it does feel like a lot of pavement.
a lot of what?
A lot of pavement.
Yeah.
We do it very vehicular focused and not like, I would imagine the sidewalk where the community would come together, it's the front, there's a confusion to me about what's the front, what's the back. Like the front, I know the main street is the front, but so when you come into your home, you're greeting your neighbors in this kind of, paved area outside your garage, which I don't have a suggestion for it, but it doesn't feel super.
I think part of the problem is when you look at it, the plan,
So there's.
Yeah, but I don't think it looks like that in reality in the back, like, I don't think it really looks like that.
So I think I need to,
Strips, it's garage.
Yeah.
we need to put the two together.
Yeah,
I think right now they're a little disconnected, right, from these renderings to the plan, so we have to do some more.
And is the intent to introduce like a front stoop on some of these maybe, or a mini porch of some kind?
if somebody comes to visit, are they parking, how does that?
Well, there are two parking
Yeah.
spaces in front of the garage.
But that's not.
Yeah, we've sprinkled a few visitor parking garages.
And no parking on the street. Right. Within the parking.
I know, I don't think it really works that way.
Two cars in front. And there's no shared parking anywhere.
You know, I think it may not show up, there is a few, there is some small pockets, I know at least the clubhouse has parking on it, there's some parallel parking. That's along the green space, and there's some in front of the clubhouse,
So no parties?
there's no parties whatsoever. Forbidden, in the rules.
Well, that's a,
Or if you ask your
that's a
neighbor,
legitimate concern.
yeah, right, well, yeah, ask your, ask your neighbor if I can use your driveway, we have friends coming over, but, we can take a look at it.
So, you know, we don't hear somebody, neighbors, no one.
I don't have my neighbor. We'll look at that.
And at some point, we'll see the clubhouses too.
We did send the clubhouse designs. I guess we have not done that yet, but they were conference.
Okay, so you want to see, come on, see this.
You want to see just the elevations, correct? The renderings?
We don't, yeah, what you guys are doing inside.
You're set with lot B, we'll move to lot A. Anything else going once? Bob, you good with lot B? Thumbs up will work. You're good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good. Yep.
Okay. I will go. So here's lot A. And then,
That was the same comment on line A, this line. B is array of window types.
try and get up to the top. Let's start.
Yeah, I have one question on this slide. Is that black siding?
What's that, right? Or dark gray, charcoal gray? Black.
All the rate.
Black.
I'm telling you.
Watch it, it's called.
So that's one that's become very popular that escapes us as well.
It is.
It's very popular.
I'm sure it is. Somewhere.
You see it a lot in Vermont right now.
Yeah.
Everywhere they're building back.
Yeah, that's why I live in Vermont. I think I would
Agree or disagree?
a little lighter.
It's charcoal, Sheldon, it's charcoal.
We're just a bunch of old farts here.
Yeah.
Community.
So do you guys have the same, do you go to the same, yeah?
Yes,
You
sir.
know, I think that is allowed, I think, not to our market, but this is an old market, so I think we should be looking at lightening some of that up. You know, it's a younger market, I think.
Well, I think too, as part of the offering, right, I guess, well, on a townhome, she'll be picking the side, they're not necessarily picking the different colors.
But they pick unit space.
She'll pick you space.
What they see.
But if these are
You feel
all
very-
lined up like this, it's a much smaller, closer
It's
thing, what do you guys think about? So this is one neighborhood. It's really active.
Inescapably, yeah.
Right. It doesn't lay out like the other.
We think the preponderance of units will be the single level master bedroom suite units, which is that second plan, not this darker plan.
Right, with a garage in front.
Correct. So it should be just art. Would you be find acceptable if we just showed that one plan on?
I think so.
Computers,
Which one
think,
plan?
let's say that one keeps
This
going. No, these are all the same.
Just in front.
There,
This one,
Right.
I think that's the back.
That's,
Yeah,
so-
again, that's not being seen, that's the back.
well, that's what all the neighbors are saying.
That's in the neighborhood.
Right, so that's here.
Yeah, that's what you draw.
Once you turn into your house, you're driving by the house area. Not seeing those things.
They're showing all this green here, and then when I look at the site plan, I don't see space for that green.
Marcus McLeod.
I mean, I get.
That's what you said, the guy did.
Yeah,
Right.
it's reality. I like the green. That of the record.
Julie have a,
Well, I kind of like the paired garages, if you're gonna do it. The way, so this,
center.
so if you look at the plan on the site plan. Those two are together and then these are singles. I think it might be more successful to do it where the corner is open, you get a double in the next corner. If you don't, can you jump to the site plan, because I think that's how they had it shown in the site plan too. You know, was that. Like those two are together.
But Tim, that
With
open
these-
corner makes a big. Very helpful.
I think so, and then you have two together, so it's kind of lighter in the middle and have these little slats going back.
This appears slightly. The open corner will be very helpful. It's strong corners.
You're saying opposite things.
I'm saying what he said.
Okay, good. I was kidding.
And then there was one picture that showed ridge lines running perpendicular.
That's it.
No, keep going. There was
That's
one,
it. That's the last one.
must have been in front of those then. It was right after the black ones. I think.
The two at the end showed cables and then
There you go.
Well, that's with the-
but if you go way down the block, is that ridge line running perpendicular to these?
Oh, yeah.
Would it be just showing an eave rather than a gable? I thought there was a slide that showed 4 units. The longitude there, that one. I don't know if I find that interesting or appealing or not.
I think we prefer just to show one plan, that's that, like, but I, if you think that's where.
Which you guys are gonna do.
That acceptable from your perspective?
Where the garage is a single story building essentially.
In front, yeah,
We have the first.
that one.
Yeah, okay, okay.
So I got a weird, can that be created a document, since you got a flat roof anyhow? Could you put a slider or French doors out and create some of those creative documents?
Could.
Okay.
It's also second floor.
So perfect.
It would make those.
Sit out there and have your coffee in the morning?
Well, when you're building a project for empty nesters with the first floor accent,
It might be a little bit of a large.
Area.
Yeah.
Too big.
Too large off the bedroom, yeah, I think.
That's where the grandkids. move around.
Yeah,
the grandkids
You
can
play
throw
pickleball
things apart.
there.
Yeah.
You're pickleball.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It does seem like
Right,
the
we go back to
real estate kind of ways, yeah.
maybe. So, yeah, I don't know that there's, and maybe again, that's maybe what you're saying, the site plan doesn't really reflect this, like, there's not space for sidewalk or parked car in the back, right?
Yeah, I would say the rendering doesn't represent
And
the
that-
site
and
plan.
I guess, do we want that too? Like, do you want this to be like a active space in the back where
Yeah.
you're gonna have sidewalks, or do you want? I guess I think about the visitor lane too. Is this really where visitors are coming to visit you, or do visitors park somewhere else and walk down the sidewalk, or parallel park on the street in front, you know, like, like, think about it more like walkable, public.
I mean,
Sidewalk, yeah.
that's always the challenge with buildings that have two, back and front, it's always, you can't, to be honest, you can't have both ways. I mean, it's like you either have to kind of embrace the car at the back, the back court with the front, but it's it can be a real challenge to try to figure that
I
out.
mean, the original plans when you came was completely the opposite, and we had kind of a green corridor in the middle. And we were like, oh, that's wonderful, that people live there, they can have a nice backyard and all. And, but for me, it was to drive down that street and be across the street from the school and everything else, and to see just that row of cars. You know, this plan, so,
That's how we got to this plan.
yeah, I mean, you know, you can't do both.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't, like along Bridge Street, you have street trees and parallel parking and for visitors, so that's the public. And in the back is more, you know, keep the green, but like make it more park like walkable, urban.
No, I-
urban, but
That's
you
what
know,
you're saying.
like this whole place could be more of a planned community, if you know,
Yeah, I got you.
suburban.
I got you, you know,
Yeah.
so then you really do engage the front
Yeah,
of it.
Yeah.
You really make it a true front.
you make it a true front,
Yeah.
you know, and,
Okay, yeah.
Maybe agree, but.
I like that.
That's more of like what good plan design is about. It's not about this suburban kind of parking. In the back. You wanna make a sense of community, see people walking, see.
Well, this is on one street that does that, right?
Yes, yes.
And that's something other than Morehouse.
And you could do it on the perpendicular street potentially too, coming down to lot B. It might be that opportunity.
Right.
Because you already have a big sidewalk there. right?
Yeah.
Miles, you're
On one
talking
side.
here on this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's really starting to engage right now, beyond the road, it's just a pass through. Right. When you start doing parallel, bump outs, couple little bump outs of parallel parking, starts to feel more like a planned community, right? I hear you. Yeah, that's,
And maybe that's
And
on, maybe that's on the side, the north.
yeah, it would be on the opposite side of the walkway, because we really don't need the bump outs on the single family. Well, it might slow but they slow people down, right?
Right.
So that, it's a little traffic calming, right? Where people there, you engage the street, it'll slow people down. That's, yeah, I like that concept.
Because then you presumably have, well, you got a couple of sidewalks that come out.
Yeah, yes.
You can use that.
So for that, you also then, and I just want to make sure, your thought is to do something similar than with parallel parking bump outs along this edge, along the east edge of Bridge Road. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Why do you call them bump outs? They bump in.
I mean, it's not. In it.
I'm not an architect.
English teacher.
Huh?
English teacher.
All right, from an architecture standpoint, then, any particular comments other than, Tim, with the pairing of the alternate pairing of the garages than what's shown here?
The only comment I would make would be to try to differentiate the garages so it doesn't appear to be militarily organized street. In other words, reflect the architecture of the structure behind perhaps a little more. And right now, looking at this rendering, they're all with an arch top.
And the arch doesn't really fit this.
As we're talking, I'm thinking there's kind of an inherent quality to any neighborhood, which is this. Everyone looks at each other's house and thinks, is that nicer than mine? And this doesn't provide any of that.
Well, never done that.
Exactly.
And I live next door to you.
More focus than.
It's long.
I don't know.
They're not gonna be most laws.
Or what do you guys think they should match? B? Or should be different than, in terms of, because this is pretty much a little sister of B, right? Or a big sister,
Yeah.
whatever.
But I think it should be different.
People would want it, but I don't know what that means.
You know, it's like you live in Devonwood or Lower Devonwood, I know Devonwood very well. Sort of like different neighborhoods to it. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible to create that or not. Obviously, the end unit is more desirable. Terrible one. Yeah. Oh, they got a dormer. I don't know. It's just an observation. I'm not sure how to apply it in a useful way.
And I think I gave you a copy, so one of the members, Dave Quitter, is not here this evening.
Yeah.
And he provided some written comments, so obviously he doesn't have the benefit of having participated in this conversation, so these are isolated. So you can take those as you wish, but I think I printed 4 copies for your side. Dave obviously included, the committee on those comments, so knowing he wasn't gonna be here this evening, I gave him that opportunity. So those are there. So to the extent that they are helpful and add additional context to the conversation, that's fine. So I wouldn't necessarily that supersedes.
Yeah, but they somewhat align with some of the conversation, but I think, yeah, I think he probably would have benefited from the conversation.
Sure.
But we appreciate getting those, but
Okay. All right, gentlemen.
Jim, one thing to you is, obviously our intent is to give everything to you in advance, but did you have a general feeling as to at least give me everything by X? Like, when do you typically week in advance?
So the next meeting is June 18th.
Yeah, are you gonna give me a cutoff date?
So I will, as things are available, right, I will disperse it in time.
Yep.
Okay. What I don't want is, right, we do buy we distribute it. And we're working. So I think you. So if we got that, so it's just for you to start to look at it. Maybe. So unless there's some critical fatal error that somebody is seeing, that needs to be corrected prior to the next meeting. I don't think it's.
This would be super nice to have but maybe open function instead of you said So that was. Steady. Steady. So that's it.